Founders Floor, a co-working accelerator for startups.
Thank you for hosting. Thank you for coming here. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two tonight. That would be my goal. In terms of introductions, I'll start on the personal front. So I live and work in San Jose, so I love the city, love Sharks. Although, to be frank with you, being an underdog myself, kind of them versus Golden Knights, you don't know who to root for. But I still rooted for Sharks, so and I also root for Barracudas, which also lost playoffs. Luckily, we have Warriors, so to make up for the rest. So I'm a dad of two. I love my work. I love my two boys, and I love tinkering with robots, and I also love competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if any of you know what that is. So that's me in a nutshell. A couple words about the company. So we are growing very fast. So far we have close to 600 employees worldwide. Headquartered here, we actually just launched a beautiful new building in downtown San Jose. Had our grand opening, had Mayor Sam Liccardo come and help us launch that. So growing here and growing worldwide, we've got about 16,000 customers in more than 100 countries. So that's going pretty well. What the reason for our growth and the value that we bring to our customers is, I'll give you kind of a little metaphor, if you will, or concept how I look at things. So if you think about digital economy, you start with in this creative chaos phase, like you do in your daily work as a startup, right? And at some point, once you figure something out, the beauty of the digital economy is you need to scale it rapidly. And that's when you need the platform to better manage and oversee that work. So a lot of our customers are startups that are in that scaling mode. Some of them are world's largest enterprises that are in the similar scaling mode. They have their new digital product that they're scaling, or they're digitizing existing operations. So again, when you're small, 5 people in the same room, you could use anything, to be frank. I would prefer you to use us, but you could just as well use whiteboard or something like a spreadsheet. But once you hit that note and you need to scale, and when you're doing hundreds of projects or campaigns or buildings or however you call it, a quarter or a month, that's when you need a platform like us to survive and to sleep well and to make sure that the trains run on time. So, and we basically grow with our customers and with digital economy. That's a big part of our growth.
You're talking about earlier kids, things like that, and I started my company when I graduated college, my first to three, and I think you started Wrike shortly after college as well, and how things change. You have kids and things like that, and you make these sacrifices. I know I was here a week ago, and I coached my son's little league team, and 1 minute before I go on stage, I get a text saying my son just hit a grand slam, not a home run, a grand slam, and you're just like, oh, there was a life moment I just missed. Fuck. Yeah, it's like, oh, Jesus, So those are the things that as founders you just kind of work through, But talking about the history a little bit, you didn't grow up here. You grew up in Russia, immigrated here. A lot of our founders at Founders Floor, also grew up at different places and came here. This is kind of really the mecca for startups in a way. And I don't know if that's how you felt as well. How was that process moving here? I mean, leaving all your friends, colleagues, and having to, build those new business connections and founding a company at that same time. How was that process like for you?
For me, it was exciting. I was really looking forward to it. I kind of dreamt about Silicon Valley when I was a teenager. I always got excited about building things, and I always was excited about how do you scale things to kind of at their global scale. I saw Silicon Valley as the place to be and to learn from. And so, and by the time I moved, I was actually, I was kind of a global traveler. I lived in Russia, but I traveled all over the world for customers, conferences, this and that. So I was really excited, and for me it was the hardest things was friends and family. Like the rest of it, I'm sort of I was digital native, if you will, already. So I literally took a duffel bag, credit card and shorts. Luckily, you don't need to carry a lot of a lot of coats when you move here, and snow boots unless you wanna ski. But so their move itself was fairly easy, and exciting. Kind of a lot of new opportunities to build those connections, to learn. And one of the things that I love about the Valley, and that I leveraged at the beginning, and that you're leveraging now and could leverage, is that people are very open, and so when you come, it's very easy to learn. There are a lot of peers, there are a lot of people who've been there, done that, and so you could either kind of use one-to-many learning sessions like this, or sometimes you can grab a coffee with somebody. And generally, again, people are fairly friendly and open, and they can tell you about how they've done it. And so that was amazing and inspiring, and allowed me to kind of learn quickly.
Yeah. What a lot of our audience members, are founders or entrepreneurs that are, soon want to start their own company, and so they love kind of hearing, how successful founders like yourself came up with the idea for their company and how they kind of got it off the ground. So with Wrike, how did you come up with the idea of Wrike, and in those earlier months, how did you kind of help just get it off the ground?
So Wrike is my second serious business, if you will. And the first one, which grew to more than 100 engineers and was multi-million profitable, was basically a professional services organization. So we did work for hire. And that's one of the reasons why, again, I traveled the world. So in that business was also growing very fast. Basically in services, it's very linear. Like you do great work and extra work on top of that, and your business grows through referrals. So it was growing with our customers and through referrals. We didn't do any like miraculous sales or marketing. It was just growing by us executing well. And so with that growth, I was managing multiple functions. So I was managing recruiting, which was key to that business, and that was good school for my later career. So recruiting was key. Managing of those projects and delivering on time was key. And so I had to oversee very different things. I had to oversee them across multiple projects, and that's where I felt like I was drowning in spreadsheets, Microsoft project files, emails, SharePoint portals, and stuff. I needed a system where I could log in and get the picture across everything, right? So if I needed to see what Joe has done over the last 2 weeks, I'd be able to see it. If I needed to see where my VIP customer projects stand, I should be able to pull it instantly. If I need to drill down and solve an issue, I need to have the information right there in context, rather than it being scattered across instant messages and emails and sort of files that lead who knows where. So that's where I just felt the pain myself, and I wanted a solution. Very important point though is that I was not just building custom solution for myself, right? So it wasn't like, hey, let's build internal tool and then somehow it transitions into external. I did realize the pain. I did realize that it's big, and I wanted to build a solution for everybody. So right from the beginning, we were not just building, like custom ugly tool that gets us there. It was more like, let's build the right solution that's scalable. It's a great product idea. I always wanted to build a product business, because once you build services business, at some point, a little dirty secret if you've never done it, you started as a technologist, and that's why you're successful. Because you love your work, and that's why you do go that extra mile, and that's why customers get extra value. But once you scale it, it's no longer a technology business. Professional service organization, it's about client management, recruiting, and project management. So at least the last piece was, all three pieces are interesting, but again, you lack that technology and that drive and that exponential scalability. So I had a good idea. I had good skills. We were, me and my team, we were very, very early in their, what later became known as SaaS and Ajax. So basically we were building for our customers SaaS solutions before there was a term SaaS, right?
And it was ASP, right?
Yep. And then we were also building fully dynamic interactive apps, while most sort of website and pages were static, like hit refresh, you get your new data, maybe, who knows. And so that's where I had the technical skills and I had the right idea, and I felt, okay, I build services business, it's working well, let me try to build product. I know it's harder, but it's also more fun.
You, And I think, for the first 5-6 years, this was a bootstrap company for you. And and I tell our founders this, if you can bootstrap the company, that's the best way to go, not to take outside funding, and sometimes that can be a blessing in disguise, because, if you're able to get to a certain level where, you've created those success metrics, then when you go to raise, it's under the terms that you kind of dictate with investors rather than vice versa. That doesn't make it any more easier, though, because it's hard at those early years. How was it for Wrike? Was it a choice to bootstrap initially because of just what you wanted to do, or was it most of what most startups fall into, which is at a necessity you have to bootstrap?
I think it was both. So I say, look, as a person who just moved into the Valley, and 12 years ago, the Valley was similar to what it is now, but also a little bit different. So I wasn't like an ex-Googler, I wasn't Stanford grad. Nobody cared about the fact that I had built business somewhere else, despite the fact that it was like multi-million engineers, unless they knew the name and unless it sort of clicked with them, like nobody cared. So for them, I was like a no-name dude with a heavy accent. Well, not heavy, but still with some accent. So I didn't necessarily see people running to me with the checkbooks, and I figured that maybe who knows, if I invest a lot of time, maybe I'll be successful, but I could just as well as invest that time in building the product and acquiring customers, and ultimately they'll give me the money, right? So I always kind of internally, and we got a couple of Wrike employees here, internally I like to say that customers are our first and best investors, right? So that, again, literally the same amount of effort. Neither is easy, but I felt that's more sustainable long term, because even if I do raise the money, I still need to acquire customers. So but I still obviously kind of build the relationship over the years, and it's funny how the world sort of goes around. Like I literally just met the other day with a guy who I pitched, 8 years ago, and now he's very interested today. So it's kind of a little bit different sides of the table right now. So, but it helps because I was always polite and cautious, and I always delivered more than I promised. So even though in those original conversations, even the people who didn't write their checks, some of them are kind of good acquaintances of friends, and some of them will write down the check later. So I wasn't averse to investment, but I also wasn't necessarily like viewing it as my singular priority.